So, gentlemen, shall we get started?
Sure.
You ready?
Let's go.
Oh, everybody takes their seats.
Finally, video comes alive.
We're ready.
Please,
we're ready. Oh. Anyway, so welcome everybody to this session called Customer Experience in Agile Enterprises. My name is Adrian Swinsko. I am based in the UK. I'm an expatriate Scot, I hasten to add, based in living currently in Brighton on the south coast of England. I am an advisor, author, Forbes contributor, general explorer when it comes to the space of service and experience. The thing I'm interested in is what does it take to, deliver better outcomes for both customers and employees. And so I'm joined with a number of kind of fine, esteemed gentlemen here today who are going to help me talk about some of the things, customer experience in the enterprise space right now. I mean, the description that we had for the session was that online conversations across a diversity of channels have become the new normal for entertainment, shopping, support, schooling, and now even sort of healthcare. And so what we want to do is explore what's next within that agile enterprise space. And particularly when we've got CPaaS solutions coming on board more and more, and more industries actually start to really take steps forward. But before we get into that, I'd like my fellow panelists to introduce themselves. Now, this might not be the same on your screen, but I want to go this way first, and that's Ryan over there on my screen. I'm going to ask Ryan to introduce himself, and then I'm going to go down to kind of Nico over here, and then I'm going down to Anne kind of over here. So Ryan, if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself and where you're coming from today.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for having me on the panel. Ryan Henley, I'm the Chief Customer Officer here at Bandwidth. And basically that means that my responsibility is for our overall customer experience, defining that, making sure that it's evangelized throughout the organization and built into the processes that we use to deliver service for our customers. I'm also responsible for our Voice of the Customer program. So listening to our customers throughout their customer lifecycle, understanding whether we're serving them and meeting their needs currently, as well as defining and understanding what those needs are in the future. A little bit of Bandwidth really quickly. Bandwidth is a communication platform as a service company. We've been around for about 20 years, providing voice and messaging and emergency services, primarily here in the United States and Canada. And then we recently acquired Voxbone, who was in the rest of the world, if you will, providing mostly voice and emergency services in 60 plus countries around the globe. So we're very excited to join together and continue to serve customers worldwide.
Perfect. Thanks, Ryan. Nico?
Yeah, my name's Nico Dammers. I'm General Manager with One Central here in the Netherlands. We are operating across Europe. We are a rather small technical company. We only deliver via partners our solutions, and we are both in the more traditional telco world because we are platform agnostic in the sense that we work with people who love Unify or love Avaya or love Mitel, and nowadays, of course, a lot of Microsoft Teams and the other new exciting platforms that are rising and that you can call CPaaS or UCaaS or whatever label you put on it. But we try to work and deliver solutions on top of those platforms. And we are really interested in learning also from others in what are the models that are working. And typically we are not looking for the next big killer app that is going to conquer the world. But in our part of the the value chain, we are looking for things that can make others different. So how can you differentiate? How can you line up a value chain of companies, of enterprises around you who can work together with you to deliver the best experience or the best solution towards your end customer or your business customers. So I'm looking forward to this discussion.
Thank you, Nico. So Anne, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Adrian. Thanks for inviting me. My name is Anna Bakker. I'm the founder of Bot Squad, and we recently joined Enrich in November last year. Obviously, we're building bots, and we're now contributing to the overall meaning of, or the overall kind of statement of creating meaningful human contact. We feel that automating parts of conversations can actually help creating more meaningful human contact. So I'm really excited to see where these AIs can really help bring CX to a higher level. Looking forward to the discussion.
Perfect. Thank you, Anna.
Are you behind, sorry, are you behind all those new apps that you can people have with the video and changes that you can have Mona Lisa talk? Is it also on the video part or just?
No, we're not doing video yet, but now part of Enreach, where video is also a big part of the proposition. We might start to look into this. So today we do mainly chat. We're now moving into voice as part of Enreach, and video will definitely be up next. Also, going from chat to video, I think, is a really nice elevation of kind of human of the channel.
Perfect. So, before we jump into this and the sort of start exploring the session description, I wanted to sort of take a step back a little bit, because I wanted to, because I come at it from almost a customer advocacy and employee advocacy perspective. I wanted to revisit that initial premise around things are becoming the new normal, and so customers and employees are getting the tools that they need to get the service and experience that they deliver. And I just wanted to ask, are brands or just enterprises or mid-sized, smaller businesses, whoever, are they actually delivering on their promises as yet? Or are we still kind of like struggling to deliver the kind of like the right outcomes? And I'll tell you what, I'm going to go to Nico first. Nico, you look like you're leaning into the camera there. I want to kind of like hear what you have to say first.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's very, very difficult, because there's no big one solution or one way of delivering anymore. So people are trying to get a way of communicating and delivering service or a listening ear to their customers in different ways. And it's technology wise, we are there. Mm-hmm. So we have all the tools existing. But making sure that they work together and that you get the best information out of it. It's nice that you can listen into and that you can record people's sentiments on your recordings. But if you then you know that 10 people were angry when they called you. But if you don't do anything, that's the second step. So I think we are lined up technology wise. But we have to translate it now to business value. I think that's kind of the curve for this year, in my opinion.
Ryan, you seem to be nodding away there.
I am. I love how you said that, because you bring another thought to mind, that the technology is there. I think it's a great observation that the tools are there, but we're still learning, I think, on how to actually combine those tools together to create an experience that makes sense for the average user, and one that allows them to kind of change modalities, if you will, as their needs progress. So I love your observation that the tools are there, but I think to your question, provocative question, by the way, that are brands meeting their promise? I think we're learning. A lot of evolution has been crammed into 2020 and now into 2021, and we've not gotten it all right. I think we're learning as we go.
Anna, would you concur, or would you go like, no, everybody's doing great, it's fine, let's go home.
Come on.
I think companies are definitely picking up on chat, and so we've actually started our company automating chat conversations. And in the recent years, I've really seen companies chat become mainstream. So most big companies have chat on their websites. A lot of them support WhatsApp, and you even see chat inside of apps. I recently bought an e-bike, and an e-bike obviously comes with an app. And when I had an issue, it was really nice to be able to chat and to actually send a little video about the problem I had. Think about doing that over a phone and trying to explain. So I can really see the benefit of a channel like that. And so,
Nico, go ahead.
I was just thinking about it yesterday, but it's like on interactive communications. Like email is gone. Email is a broadcasting communication channel now, and if you want to have a meaningful conversation, it's chat and maybe some other social platforms, but it's. I was cleaning up my mailbox, and I didn't come across any interesting question from a customer anywhere there. So
I mean, do you think also there's are people, because it seems to me that people are like customers, almost like in the mind of a customer. Whether we're chatting with somebody or we're sending somebody an email or we send them a kind of like a tweet or something, then we sort of in our minds, we sort of perceive that we're having one conversation, even though it's 3 different sort of channels. And is it that the organizations are still kind of handling things in channels and haven't got to that conversational thing where everything is in this one view and you can see whether it's voice or chat or email or kind of whatever, and you don't get all that kind of history? I mean, is that the next kind of thing, or is there something bigger than that there?
I'll weigh in just in that I think there's 2 different kinds of communications, and one is starting to wane, and the other one is starting to grow. And you have synchronous communications, voice conversation. The conversation we're having here is a synchronous communication. Then you have asynchronous communications, texting, in-app, various different kinds of messaging platforms. Anna, your experience with your e-bike was a great example of an asynchronous communication that works. But what we have to engineer for is the ability to go from one to the other still within context. So, Anna, back to your example, had you been frustrated, had you not been able to send the video, or had they said something, you might have wanted to call whoever it was that you were texting with. And so the ability to kind of transfer that conversation from an asynchronous one, which allows you to be doing, cooking or whatever it is that you're doing, and having the conversation as you're able to create cycles for it, but be able to transition that into a synchronous one is an important evolution that we've got to figure out. And I don't know that I've encountered anybody that's really figured it out really well. And then go back the other way. So, back to your transaction, you might have needed to elevate to a conversation. Oh, you're talking about this nut here. Oh, I got to tighten this. Okay, thanks very much. And then drop back to text.
Yeah, exactly.
And continue.
Yeah.
So, Adrian, I'm not sure that's quite what you were asking, but I did.
No, it's kind of fun because it strikes me that people talk about being customer centric, but I'm not really sure that they're really kind of like trying to almost view what they need what they need from a customer's perspective. And, asynchronous or synchronous. And Nico, you talked about, you think the technology's there, but actually there's this gap, whether that's operationally, or it feels to me that it might be, is there a strategy or vision kind of gap that people aren't necessarily kind of like thinking about where or what they want to build and what they want to deliver to, and they're working towards kind of that.
Yeah, or if you want to do something, if you really want to listen and act and react to what your customer wants, or it's just a tick in the box kind of thing that you need to have. So if you can say you are listening to your customers, but if they ask something, you have a FAQ answer.
Yeah,
that's for me asynchronous. That's
sure.
That really is. I have the last year. If everyone have employees working at home, I have an overload of different channels, and I forget every time in which channel I answered and where the information was, and it's really a struggle. And of course, we are on track now to solve that and to make the whole streamlining of information internally more efficient. But wow, it's really difficult. It was getting really difficult last year. So I think we all have to work on balancing that a little bit better now.
Anna, do you have a view on that? I mean, because given that so you're in that sort of chatbot solution sort of space, and when you encounter a client, I mean, what's your view in terms of the view that they have of the sort of experience that they want to deliver, and kind of how's that all kind of work, or is it that you have to help them build the vision, or do they just kind of, because they kind of come along frequently and go, oh, we need a chatbot, which a lot of people are kind of coming out, oh, we need a chatbot. Chatbot will solve things.
That definitely happened in the beginning. You had lots of companies that just heard about a chatbot, they wanted a chatbot, and then they didn't really do anything with it. They had the chatbot say, email me. And so if you use a chatbot as something that just is like your website aesthetic and it doesn't really help you, you're not adding anything. But I think over the last year, people have really seen that if you put a chatbot on your site, you also need to kind of facilitate a seamless live handover, so you don't create kind of these trap situations in which you really can't help a person. And I think once you start doing that, kind of a nice interplay between the chatbot doing the mundane stuff, like can I park at your location, or what are your opening hours, which is not really something that an agent wants to answer like 100 times a day. But you still elevate the conversation to an operator when it seems to be something that is not within that simple realm. I think you can deliver on a real good experience. If you think about websites being your store, and without something like chat, it's like an empty store and there's this little sign like email us, that doesn't feel very human as well. But you need to do it well, I agree.
Any comment on that, sort of from Ryan, Nico? Because I'm interested in also the interface between technology vendors and kind of like and buyers and stuff. And because if it's not producing that sort of the right sort of outcomes, where does the improvement need to happen as well?
Well, I was worried that Anna, you were looking over our shoulder a couple of years ago when we tried to implement some of this, because that's exactly what we did. I looked at this technology and said, we need to do this, and we implemented. Really probably just to check a box and say, this is really cool new technology, and we failed because we weren't really thinking about what is it that customers need from us in this transaction. How can we help them without having to talk to us? We just didn't do a good job of it. So we've kind of we dialed it back, and we have yet really to step back into it. So we're in an interesting place, I think, because we are both a provider of technology for people who have customer service, and we also have customer service. So we're both a producer of and a user of some of these technologies. It's but yeah, no, I was concerned that you were looking over my shoulder. We'll do better next time, I promise.
Nico, because I also wanted to go back to your point from earlier, where you talked about, you think we're there. I mean, I always kind of gaze at wonder kind of the possibilities of what technology can deliver if set up in the right sort of way, and sort of everything's organized in the right sort of way and used in the right sort of way. But you alluded to this idea that there's a gap, as it were, and I wanted to explore that sort of gap between sort of technology vendors and sort of like the buyers of sort of technology, and how we can better sort of improve that to drive those outcomes. I think that we're all trying to look for. As vendors, you're trying to look for that, because if you make the buyer successful, then you're successful, but also customers and employees are more successful. So do you have a view on what the gap is?
Well, I think that technology providers always think they understand what their customers want, and that they have a great idea that the customer, what they want and they say they want, is actually what they need.
Right.
So I think I think the technology that we have right now is more like a piloting and testing environment that you give people the opportunity to find out themselves what works for them. Mm-hmm. And for the specific customer set, or the specifically time or place or whatever they are, and they should go on a journey. It's not a customer journey in the sense that the buying cycle or whatever, but how can you use the technology that it makes your life easier, your work easier, how people can find information from your customer better, how you can route customers better to the destination they are looking for. Without being technology driven, in the sense that it's all quite technical, but it's fluent at the background. Mm. And that's what we are looking at right now, is how we can start even that conversation to deliver all kind of functionality out of the network, and not from the customer premise equipment, but giving a toolbox to our customers, and that they can try and learn. And make small steps and make mistakes without being a dreadful investment. Sorry. Yeah. For the company, just to learn what works for us. What can we absorb? What is our workforce being able to handle? And that's what we see it now with a lot of Teams implementations. We run a terrific white label platform from a partner of ours, and we are learning with different kind of customer sets of how they how they use it. And one company is totally into Teams and they migrate in a moment. The other ones are still looking at how to open the door and where the button is.
And does that cause kind of like it must cause you to have to to think about your commercial model as well. It's because you're almost kind of going slower in order to kind of go faster or go longer in many ways. Is that right?
Yeah, for us that's not a very big problem, but we try to invest only on customers and projects. But I can understand if you build your own platform and you have to adjust all the time, that it can be very painful.
Mm-hmm. Anna, sort of.
Yeah, I think it's really good.
You have a view? Sorry, you have a view on that, Anna?
I think it's a really good point about kind of introducing those new technologies in a safe way. And so, for instance, when we started doing IVR automations, you typically test with people who have a good pronunciation. It works well, but then you hit the market. And there's people who have a completely different dialect. Exactly, and it doesn't work. So in that case, you need to fall back to a technology that always works. And so what we do on our platform, we try once, we try twice, and then we fall back to the normal DTMF based menus, for instance. And if you introduce technology in a way that's like elevating stairs, if it doesn't work, you can still walk up. You're not trapped in an elevator. Mm-hmm. That was a really nice way of kind of depicting this. Then you do it in a safe way, and people are willing to experiment. The same with chat. If you have a failover to a human, you can introduce a chatbot early because it doesn't have to answer all those questions. As long as it just hands over to a human within kind of 2 times not knowing the answer, so you don't create this frustration.
Ryan, is that something
really interesting?
Sorry, go ahead, Nico.
It gets really interesting when Amazon Echo is calling the Google bot, and they make a transaction.
Who pays for it though?
Yeah, happy interactions.
So Ryan, is that something that you're seeing as well? Kind of like some of that sort of experimentation, kind of proof of concept piloting sort of ideas?
I do definitely, and that's definitely how we are trying to bend our sales approach. I want to connect to something else that you mentioned lightly, Adrian, which is this is a different way of selling technology. It's selling products versus selling a service or a solution. And it is a little slower. You have to sit with a customer and understand a little bit more about their business. You have to understand their market and the drivers that are behind what their needs are, so that you can ultimately sell a package of solutions, not just show up with a list of tools and say, which one do you want? Because they may not know what they want, or they may think they want this one when they actually what they really need is this one, or they need some combination of those things that you can deliver. So I think your question was, does that have impact on the sales cycle? Does it potentially slow down the sales cycle in order to speed it up? And I think there is some element of that. It's certainly much faster to talk to 10 prospects and say, here's my list of products, which do you want? And when they don't pick anything, you move to the next one. You move to the next one. You can go quickly through that transactional model, or you can take the time to build a relationship, to understand problems, to understand challenges, so that you can pull together solutions. Ultimately, that becomes, I think, a stickier relationship and potentially a larger sale. But it does take a little additional time and some different kind of approaches and different investments of time.
Perfect.
Yeah, but it's also a markup. It's like adding some functionality. Okay, €2 per user on top of it, and we add this kind of flavor. Oh, another €1. That adds up. If I look at my desktop, it's full of all kind of services for 1 or 2 or 10 euros a month. And if you add it up, it's my current workspace is 10 times more expensive than the one 10 years ago.
Sure.
That's a good point. I hate to stack up all of my subscriptions for various different things. I don't think I want to see what it all costs.
Gentlemen, horrors of horrors. We're now nearly kind of like 2 minutes. We're already running over. We're already kind of 3 minutes run over kind of like already, which is kind of like quite frightening. I don't know how we got there, but it's just so we don't encroach on the upcoming sort of next sessions. Let me kind of pose to you one quick thing, so we can just do a quick round. Is if you had any advice to give to listeners, watchers, sort of like buyers of sort of technology that want to drive these better outcomes and get more from their relationships with their tech vendors, given that that's where you're predominantly all sitting, what would your best piece of advice be? And I'll go to Anna first.
Yeah, I think it was said. Yeah, that's fine. It was said before. I think it's really important that you start small. We've seen these engagements with customers where they think really big, and we always try to trim down the project to something that is deliverable, because you'll learn along the way, and you'll learn a lot more than you thought up front. And you also take a bit of the because AI has this over promise thing, which you need to be clear where it adds value and where you're really in a risky zone when you start using these technologies.
Perfect.
So start small.
Excellent. Ryan, let's go to you next.
If I could, I would probably say two things, pieces of advice. One is focus on the problem you're trying to solve, not the technology with which you solve it. That may be a keen insight into the obvious. The other one is if you can't explain it to your mother, it's too complicated.
Yep.
That's a really hard one, actually.
And Nico?
I would say invest in the dialogue and try to understand in the dialogue what it really means, and also don't be afraid to say something is not possible or not yet, or challenge each other. Share your knowledge, but also your vulnerabilities. And learn from each other, and don't say I have the right answer, but okay, that's an interesting question. Let's try it on this way, and if it doesn't work, at least we've learned that.
Yeah.
Perfect. So thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Nico. Thank you, Anna. Thank you to everyone on the SmartCom team and all of the sponsors, and to you, all of the attendees, even the 26 people that are still hanging around and are late for the next session or the drinks thing out in the lobby or whatever is kind of going on. This 25 minutes has flown by. My name's been Adrian Swinsko. From all of us, thank you very much. Hope you have a great next step in the event, and it's been a pleasure. Look forward to connecting with you all again soon. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.